Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of You're Not Ready for This. Your host speaking, Alan, here with my good friend Kevin. Kevin, how are you?
Doing pretty good, Alan. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing excellent, and to be quite honest, I'm looking at that jackpot of the Powerball. It's almost $2 billion.
Is it up to 2 billion now?
Well, to be specific, I guess 1.9. But
1.9.
yeah, it's so tempting, but also when you start thinking about that amount of money, it's kind of ridiculous.
Are you trying to say that you did not win?
Well, if I had won, it wouldn't have been 1.9 billion because previously it was 1.6 billion, and I believe,
Okay, all right.
and I believe this is a record-setting as far as how much the jackpot has gone up.
Probably.
Yeah. So interesting. Whoever wins the jackpot or any winnings at all, many blessings to you.
Would be nice. Would be nice. Wouldn't it? I don't play, so I pretty much have zero chance of not pretty much. I have zero chance of winning. But my mom will play, so she wins. She'll take care of me.
So you're relying on the percentage that you're gonna win by 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 how you say, by transference or by being near
Yeah, no,
someone that
yeah.
plays.
I'm not relying on anything. It's just
I know that it's less than 1%, but as the saying goes, and I think I said this before, there used to be someone that I knew and worked with, a very valuable person. He used to say, "Is there 1% of something than 100% of nothing?" So I guess there's a chance, at least, if you play. But
there's always that chance, right?
moving away from the Powerball, this week we decided to do a bit of a music exchange, if you want to call it that, and we picked some songs that we either influenced us, grew up with, or in some shape or manner influence or warp, how you call it, upbringing.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, your taste in music and my taste in music, I don't know whether it's because of the different areas that we grew up in. It's not that we're that different because there's bands that we have in common. But for this exercise, I know for a matter of fact that there's some music that most likely you haven't grew up with or have listened to, and I try to share those with you so you might experience
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I kind of went with the songs that I picked as far as songs that got me into the groups or the bands that I really like. So the three songs that I picked were the songs. I don't necessarily want to say that those were the first songs that I've heard from them, but they were the ones that really kind of grabbed me towards them to start listening to all their other music. I know one for sure, but some of the other ones, and two of the ones that I picked were from my high school years, and then one was a little bit later. So yeah, I mean, it's true. And then I was looking at the ones that you picked, obviously, and yeah, very different as far as
I bet.
yeah, but I mean, it kind of makes sense as well. Where I mean, from my standpoint, probably from where I grew up and whatnot, and my upbringing and whatnot, there wasn't anything specifically cultural about any of the music that I listened to. Even my parents, uh, my parents liked a lot of different type of music as well, and they my father really liked the classic rock and all that other good stuff, but it wasn't there wasn't anything specific cultural. I'm Italian, but I'm third generation, so but we didn't have anything that was specifically like Italian type songs that we listened to or anything like that. Whereas it looks like from your standpoint, you had songs that were had some cultural influence. Is that fair to say?
You're very correct into that. My upbringing back in Puerto Rico, obviously having Latin roots and being exposed to all those genres like salsa, bolero, merengue, guaguancó, all sort of Caribbean and Hispanics music influence. That was basically what I listened on a daily basis. And not only sort of on the radio, like on my household, my father used to have like a collection of vinyls, and it was like an experience that I didn't came to realize how authentic and genuine was to listening to the music on the vinyl, and kind of learning the music and developing that appreciation over the years. When I was younger, I didn't immediately like love this music, to be perfectly
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Sure.
It was something that I grew up in to love, and by the exposure. And it's funny how I could say, yeah, I have a lot of background on that, but I do tend to like a lot of rock music, or maybe not so much pop. Maybe I had like a phase of listening to a lot of poppy music, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
It was a phase. But yeah, I found that it was interesting to compare you being here in the States, obviously way longer than I have, and see how different or what things we could share with each other and taste, like you were tasting wine kind of a deal, but obviously we're tasting music and seeing
Sure.
how that goes. So how about you tell me about your songs?
Yeah,
Or
no doubt about it. You know, let me start off. You know, so I picked. I'll tell everybody what the three songs that I picked, and then we'll talk a little bit about them. So the first one that I picked was a band called Avenged Sevenfold, and the song was called Chapter Four. The second song I picked was from Wu-Tang Clan, and it was the song "C.R.E.A.M." Cash rules everything around me. And the final song I picked was Hootie the Blowfish, "Let Her Cry." And you know, again, like I said, with those songs that I picked, both the Wu Tang Clan and the Hootie and the Blowfish were from my high school years. You know, Wu Tang was around 1992. Hootie and the Blowfish, I think they've been around for longer than when Cracked Rear View came out, which is their their first album, which was in 1994. So you know, I picked all three of these for a couple reasons. One, you know, these songs were what kind of got me into the groups, and also I tried to maybe show a little bit more of my eclectic taste as far as your hard rock, heavy metal to the old school, rap music to more of a mellow. Some would say even a little bit of a countryish, but early on, Hootie didn't really have too much of a countryish sound to him. But just kind of more of a mellow type. Listen, a mellow type sound to them.
could you say soft rock, something like that?
Yeah, I think you could probably say something like a soft rock, or you can even say rock pop, maybe with Hootie. I don't know what to really classify them as, but I know a lot of people, especially when I was in high school, were very surprised at how much I really liked Hootie and the Blowfish. They would make fun of me because of it, and I told them to shove it up their ass. So
But what? Okay, wait. But why would they make fun of you?
because that really wasn't the type of music that everybody, especially my friends and stuff, we listened to. So I listened to mostly rap, and growing up in my high school, I listened to quite a bit of rap. I listened to some hard rock and metal, but my tastes were always geared towards rap. It wasn't that I disliked the other music. That was the thing. That was what we listened to the most in high school. So that was what I always gravitated towards. But I kind of noticed that my tastes were more wider than some other people's, because I started to listen to not just I could listen to like a rap song, and then on the next track I would listen to something completely different, and it wouldn't phase me. Whereas a lot of people will like to kind of stay in that one genre. So something like Hootie and the Blowfish wasn't necessarily popular. Back it was they got some good radio play and stuff like that, but where I grew up and where I'm from, and in high school they wasn't popular. So when I say people would just I'm not saying they would seriously make fun of me, but they would always joke around with me because they were always surprised that I was enjoying different types of music than what were normally listening to, I think.
Gotcha. So that's interesting. I kind of share that same, I guess, appreciation for music, in the sense of I I could be on a mood and say I was listening to, I don't know, metal or god rock or you name it. But sometimes some other kind of music will slip in a playlist. Say I was listening to Metallica and
Yep.
randomly Lily Allen will kind of slip in, or a random Lady Gaga, then Evanescence, or I don't know, the classic
Sure. Sure.
playlist when you're in high school and you're like, oh, discovering this music, or at least in my case, but yeah.
Well, and my tastes have changed over the years as well. I remember early on Rage Against the Machine. I would make fun of them. I'm like, what is this crap? It's terrible. Listen to Zach De La Roca. Obviously the way it's more of a rap. And it's really one of the first ones that I can remember, anyways. That did the rap metal music, and I was like, what is this? And as time has moved on, and obviously, if you listen to their music, it has more of an influence as far as lyrically. But even that aside, my tastes had grown to the point of like going back and re-listening and like, okay, wait a second, this is actually really really good.
Okay.
So things do definitely change and whatnot as time moves on. But yeah, I was mostly into rap. Back in high school. Wu-Tang was probably my favorite rap group, and Cash Rules Everything Around Me, when that came out, it was one of those songs that just kind of had that great hook to it, and it had a really hot beat. The lyrics were good, the rapping was good on it, and it was mainly the beat, that kind of just grips you. And it's one of those. It was extremely popular song. You see it in a lot of you'll hear it in pop culture and stuff. Even to this day, specifically that song. But for whatever reason, that song really kind of grabbed me, and that's when I started to look into the group, and I didn't realize how many different members that they had. The group
Yeah,
when I
they're,
when I
they're a big group.
yeah. When I first started looking into them, I was like, "Holy crap!" And then trying to figure out, who's rapping this verse and who's rapping that verse and whatnot. And I ended up picking up the 36 Chambers, which was their first album. Well, not so, yeah, it was Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers to be more specific. But and that came out in 1993. Yeah, it was one of those few albums that I was able to listen to and really enjoy every single song on that entire album. But C.R.E.A.M was the one that really pushed me to say, all right, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and it's funny because back when I was in high school, it was pretty big, and I did it a lot. It would be like in today's day and age, it would seem like, well, duh, because everything is streaming and online. But if you think about back then in the early '90s, you had to purchase the either the album but a lot of times I don't know if I'm gonna like the whole album. So what was really big was purchasing singles. So
Yeah, singles.
we would purchase a lot of singles on cassette tape, and you would either get one or two songs usually, and maybe like a remix on that single. But obviously, it was a lot cheaper to buy the single than it was to buy the whole album. Hey, high school kids, working, little retail job, making a couple bucks an hour or whatever, so saving up to get a car or whatever, so you're not gonna go ahead and just start buying albums left and right, like some other people would. So that was one of the few that I was like, I like this song so much, I'm gonna go ahead and just buy this album so I can listen to the whole thing. And it was something I really enjoyed. So did you
I,
have that same kind of experience in Puerto Rico as far as like the singles versus albums and things like
well,
that?
before we get into that,
Uh huh.
I kind of wanted to ask you,
Hmm.
like you mentioned that you got into Wu-Tang because of that song, and you didn't think it like a second time before buying the album.
Hmm.
And obviously you were not disappointed. But what do you like in particular about that song?
I really think it's just, to me it's the beat. It has that really really good beat to it that it's very recognizable, and it's one of those. it's to me it's one of those beats that when you hear you can't help but start tapping your foot and then bobbing your head a little bit because like yeah this is good, I like this.
Okay.
So to me that was what it was. So I mean, I'm not big on lyrics. I'm not huge when it comes to, especially right away. It usually will take me a while before the lyrics grip me in a song, and Lord knows half the time I think they're saying something different than they are. So usually for me, it's the groove, it's the beat, it's the whatever you want to say. It's the music just that will grab me and something that I really want to hear. And then after I listen to it, multiple times, then the lyrics might start to sink in. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Okay. I mean, I was gonna perfectly honest. Like when you gave me your list of songs, and in that song in
Hmm.
particular with Cream from Wu-Tang Clan, think I haven't said it on a recording, but I think I've told you before. I didn't grow up necessarily liking rap,
Right.
or back home, well, it's listen to like reggaeton. I can listen to it. I don't enjoy it or seek it out on my own free time as the let's say any other of the music that I listen to. Like it's not on my priority, and I don't know whether it's because of the matter of fact that I didn't grew up to appreciate it, because I know that some of these songs are pure poetry as far as the lyrics go, because you
Sure.
were talking about the lyrics. It's funny that the lyrics is the thing that if I will get into a song, especially from this genre, it's because I like
Hmm.
the lyrics. Like the beat, yeah, definitely everyone can bop to it, but I in particular, because it's a genre that I'm not familiar with. That's why I would lean sometimes to one or two songs from Snoop Dogg, even though some of the lyrics, well, in particular, it's just that I vibe with them, or Eminem, or the kind of I guess mainstreams you want to call it.
Yeah.
But this in particular, I don't know if it's the Wu-Tang Clan in particular. I have a problem as far as understanding what they're saying. And
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
and it's me because I haven't accustomed my ears, and again, being English, my second language, not my first. I have trouble understanding. I listen to the words, but I don't understand. And
Okay.
let me specify. It's not that I don't understand the meaning of the words. It's like what they're trying to say with the set of words
Right.
that they chose for expressing either the abstract concept or just straight out there the rhyme or the poetry.
Yeah,
So
and that was one of the things I was going to ask you if it was actual understanding what they're saying or understanding the meaning behind what they're
yeah,
saying.
so I understand the words. I don't understand the meaning because of how they make the arrangement.
Yeah.
I did like the piano arrangement they have here on this song. It's very mellow,
Hmm.
and it did remind me of someone that I used to work with that was in the like in the facilities department. He was a manager, and he used to play the piano. And
Okay.
used to do like piano arrangement for reggaeton, and he kind of demystified the idea that I had that the music was rather simple because it was just the same beat over and over, or a few remixes, and there are actually complex arrangements in going into this music as any other genre, and that was kind of a humbling experience for me as far as my exposure to both reggaeton and rap. But man, I really tried without looking the lyrics, because I tried to listen to the song without like searching for the lyrics and reading them. I was not able to understand what they were saying.
Well,
Do you know what they're
yeah,
saying on the song?
I do. I mean, not 100% of the time, but I do for the most part. What I do like about Wu-Tang's lyrics, especially early on, was obviously they're written so that they rhyme, but they're written in a way that they're trying to project the stuff that they deal with or they've dealt with growing up, as opposed to just rhyming just to rhyme. They're trying to express to the listeners, some of the aspects of where they grew up, which was they use a lot of slang, for where they grew up. Like they call the where where they're from in New York, Shaolin Land, because Wu-Tang Clan was a big fan of the Chinese martial arts movies.
Okay.
That's where they got their name, and so they throw a lot of that kind of slang in there. But yeah, it's really they're trying to express, maybe a day in a life, of growing up in that area.
Okay, so that's the influence on that goes into the making of the lyrics per se.
I
But
think so, especially early on. Yeah.
okay, gotcha. Again, this is to be transparent with people. This is the before we started the podcast properly. We did a similar exercise. How did it go? And there was another song that you shared with me from the Wu-Tang Clan, and
Yeah.
I was
Cheers.
yeah, and I wasn't able to understand it.
Yeah. Yep.
And obviously, I don't want to say that, but to answer the question that you asked previously, because you were talking about the song, and I didn't want to deviate too much from that, but to
Sure.
whether my experience growing up back in Puerto Rico as far as the exposure to songs and music, yeah, kind of a similar, but because there was so much music in my household, I didn't go out of my way to buy songs or CDs until way much later, after my teen years,
Yep.
because I just had abundance of music. Like every single Friday, my dad and my uncle would sit down and reminiscence about the past or talk about multiple topics while they were either having a beer, like kind of a debriefing from the pressure of the week or from work.
Right.
And while they were talking, they used to put the vinyls, and they will talk about either the very same artist that they were listening to, or, oh, do you remember Tito Puente when he recorded with Celia Cruz? And they will start talking about the artist and their history together. And it was by exposure, it was rather gratifying. But then when I started to developing my own taste, that I was at the end of high school, almost starting college, it was when I started to kind of deviate from the musical exposure that I had on my household. And it was obviously through radio and the set of friends that I had when I was growing up in high school, and tasting something different and having one or two experiences that I might have
Yeah.
for another occasion. But
Yeah.
I remember that, for example, if I like an artist, say some of the first CD that I bought from my own was the Toxicity from System of a Down,
Okay.
because I heard to a few songs of them and I really liked. Not only that I obviously understood what they were saying, but understood the meaning behind the criticism behind their lyrics and songs, and what they were exposing. So not only did they were sounds that you can bop and rock with, they had a meaning behind them that I felt, oh, there are one or two songs that you could argue have a meaning that are rather abstract, but still, that was the first CD that I bought. Then, kind of in a similar note that you were stating, like you didn't have the money to just go and buy song every single day. So some of my friends that were more versed in computers back then, I wasn't that savvy on computers. Obviously, they would use alternate methods to acquire music.
Oh yeah.
Everyone knows about Napster and all that, LimeWire, iMesh, and all the software that was used back in the day.
Yeah.
And when a song will come out, or an artist, they will do their own mix-up on a CD, and hey, listen to this, and they will record, maybe not from the same artist, but they will do individual songs and share it with me, and I will put the CD on my computer and listen to them, and then get the CD and return them the CD. I was how they used to. We used to share music with one another. But
Right.
later, when I was in college, I kind of was of the mentality of buying my own CDs, because I was working and studying every so often. Oh, I like this artist, so I would go and buy the CD because I really like the songs. To be perfectly honest, there was a time that stopped by influence of other people that I used to work with. and exposed me to, no, do you know that you can get the whole artist discography if you go to this site? And I'm like, oh, really? And yeah, do not promote or patronize that nowadays, especially with all the streaming services out there. But back in the day, obviously, it wasn't as available for you to get a hold of music unless you listen to it on the radio,
Oh,
or
it
you
wasn't easy.
or
Yeah.
or you bought the CD, or cassettes were very rare. I think by my memory, my father had a few cassettes, but CDs were basically the main medium that I was exposed to music sharing back in the day.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So I missed or I didn't miss you missed the cassettes for the most part. I missed the 8 track. So I grew up more or less with the cassette tapes, and then gravitated over towards the CDs as once those became when they came out and became more popular. Of course, um, listening to them in my car was a little bit of a tricky situation because my car had a tape deck,
Oh,
so I had to yeah I had to do a little bit of trickiness to get it to work with like a little portable CD player, and they had the different things. All that stuff for the people listening today is all over and much easier now with everything being streaming, and you can put a bazillion songs on a little thumb drive and listen to. It's just, man, if we had that stuff when I was growing up, it would be great.
I,
But
I don't know how many people would do that nowadays, especially when you can create your own playlist on Spotify or
I know.
or even YouTube or whatever.
Well, and I'm still kind of old school because I mean, I still buy CDs. So I'll still buy a CD and then I'll rip it onto my computer and put it on, my computer library. And then I'll rip it onto my USB thumb drive and plug it into my car. And so I can listen to the albums that way basically, I still haven't dove into the whole like Apple Music or Spotify or the ones where you can just listen to anything. You don't own anything, but you can listen to everything. So probably in time.
I used to buy the memory sticks for my phone so I could fill my phone with music that I would
Hmm.
sample from my computer, and I would listen to the same 300 songs every time. And yeah, instead of having like walking around with the Walkman or a CD player, you name it, I use my phone kind of in a similar manner
Right.
until I got an iPod that I still have to this day. I don't know how many years later that I usually use for travel when I'm on a long flight or whatever. I put on
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a time capsule quite literally because I can no longer modify the songs that are on the iPod, and there are songs there that I'm not able to extract or whatsoever. So I'm stuck with the songs that are on the iPod.
Yep.
Uh, but each time that I listen to either a playlist or put it on shuffle, I listen to songs that I'm like, oh man, I forgot that I used to listen to this. And
Yep.
I'm going a bit back. You told me that you grew up listening to rap music, and
Mhm.
how did you get into Avenged Sevenfold?
Oh, okay. So that's a great question. So we'll skip over Hootie for now, and we'll talk a little bit about Avenged Sevenfold and the song that I picked called Chapter Four. The reason, or the way I got into Avenged Sevenfold was from Madden '04, the on PlayStation 2, I believe it was.
Oh Jesus, I used to avoid all those games on the I used to go rent or buy a game, but okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was a John Madden football game. It was '04. I didn't buy Madden football games all the time. It was one, like these days I buy MLB The Show every year. I used to buy the NHL hockey every year. But Madden, the football game, I used to buy every once in a while when I was in the mood to play football game.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I must have been in the mood that year, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up Madden. And I kept hearing the song on the playlist. It would be sometimes in the background of the stadium, because they're playing the playlist on, in the game, in between plays or something like that. I would hear it, and I was like, oh man, that sounds awesome. And then sometimes it would be at the, as you're traversing the menus, that song would come on. And first, I don't know, whatever it just grabbed me. I was like, man, that song is awesome.
Okay.
And I don't think it was like today's games where you can go and look at the song track list in the menus, and find it. I don't think that had that feature in it, if I remember correctly. And I had to kind of do a little bit of research to figure out who this band is and what this song was called. And that's how I found out they were called Avenged Sevenfold, and the song was called Chapter 4. And now we're in it's internet's available now, right? So I can kind of look this stuff up and check out some of their other tracks and whatnot. And yeah, I just really fell in love with the band. I ended up that Chapter 4 was off their second album, Waking the Fallen. Their first album was Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, which was out before Waking the Fallen. So at the time when I got into them, they had 3 albums out. They had Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, Waking the Fallen. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on their third one. I'll think.
I listened to. I've listened to Avenged Sevenfold, the Fold, and the song that got me into them was Afterlife. And
yes, that was their fourth album.
I guess that's the one that was more listened to on the radio, or less they played a lot where I used to grow up.
City of Evil was the album that I was thinking of. That was their third album.
So
yeah, you're right.
So you got into this song in particular because of Madden.
Yes. That's exactly right. John Madden football got me into what's now become my favorite band.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool, and because it was one of those things where I might have gotten into them eventually as well, maybe like you did when they started getting a lot more airplay with some of their more recent songs. But I don't really listen to the radio too much, so maybe I would have heard them, maybe I wouldn't have. But it was pretty cool because when I got into them, they really weren't very well known. They did have their 3 albums out. I think Backcountry off of City of Evil was the only one that was really getting any kind of airplay at the time. Yeah, I ended up just buying all 3 of the albums and just sitting down and listening to them, and I loved them all. The first one was a lot of screaming. The second one was a mix between screaming and singing, and their third one was pretty much all singing. So I wasn't too into the whole screaming aspect, but for whatever reason I didn't mind it too much with them, just because, man, dude, it's one of those bands where you can just kind of tell these guys can play their instruments. They really know how to play, and it was I don't know why, can't really explain it, but yeah, I just fell in love with them. So yeah, my favorite band now. But Chapter 4 was the first song I ever heard from them, and so that's definitely up there as one of my favorite songs from them.
That's interesting because when I have a few songs, particularly from them, that I listen to, this song, or I listened to it before. I don't remember listening to this Chapter 4. When I listen to it now, when you gave it to me for the music exchange, the song starts like a march that is like in hopeful tones kind of a arrangement, and it's something that I didn't expect to hear coming out from them, like something with this arrangement. And then obviously there's a bit of more. There's a mix between screaming and melodic singing.
Correct.
And then the fade out is kind of there on that high note that between the singing and the screaming. And I gotta say, I too in particular wasn't a fan of screaming, but got a bit more into it, not because of Avenged Sevenfold, like other bands that I used to listen to. They cemented that position, to put it that way. But I do remember that there was something that they started to do more melodic singing because of something with the chords of the vocalist, if I'm not mistaken, or I might be mixing my artists here.
No, he did have vocal surgery done, I believe, on his because he's trained his vocal cords. Although there is misconception that because a lot of people they sold out. But if you because I've done quite a bit of research, and they actually had a plan. Their plan was to do their first album as screaming, their second one as a mix between singing and screaming, and then following that one they were going to go to all singing. And so they that was their plan all along. So it wasn't like they were forced to do that because of either the vocal chords or because people like a lot of people they sold out, so they're not screaming anymore. I think they knew the evolution of the band was going to have to be to kind of evolve into something like they are now, as opposed to just staying in that niche genre with the screaming. So that was kind of their whole plan from the get go. I thought they pulled it off pretty well.
Interesting that they have like a long term plan for their music career from the get go. Why would you start with screaming? I guess you were taking advantage of your vitality or youth, I guess.
Youth. Yeah, because I mean they were just teenagers. I think at the time when they started, they were only like 18 years old, and they were probably yeah, that was probably what a lot of the stuff that they listened to and what they gravitated towards. So they were let's go with this, and then we gotta let's adapt, let's evolve as time goes on, and get a bigger audience. I think it was very successful for them.
Okay, that I didn't particularly know that, and not that I think that they sold out or anything. I was more of the thought of if it put a strain on your voice, like doing all that screaming and doing it
Yeah.
repeatedly, not only for recordings, that when you're doing a recording, you just don't do the first take, you do multiple takes, and then going on and doing concerts live and all over the world or the multiple times. So I figured that it was that, but no, there was a career plan.
Yeah, and you're right though. It has to straight. Even if you go and watch them in concerts today, and they'll go back and do a song off of "Waking the Fallen," he does not scream like he did back then. He still does. He does the screaming, but it's not like he's probably trying to not strain his voice because obviously he's had the surgery and had the problem, so that's going to probably play a part in it. But you got to think about your future too.
Yeah. If you like screaming, I would recommend to you an independent artist called Lauren Babic. I might be butchering her last name. She has a few independent songs and also collaborations, and she does a fantastic job with screaming, and she's even done like interview videos kind of how she practices the screaming and how she takes care of her vocals, because definitely they put a strain on it. And I'll say to you, check it out. Maybe I'll send you a link. So we'll do more music exchange after.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me about Hootie and the Blowfish.
Man, I love Hootie and the Blowfish so much, and again, it was kind of, I think the song that I sent you was "Let Her Cry," which was one of their biggest hits. Back when Cracked Rearview came out, that one I think Hold Her Hand was also extremely big. But for some reason, "Let Her Cry," I just really enjoyed that song. It's not a happy song. It's kind of a sad song. So it does kind of bring up some emotional, some emotions when you're listening to it, especially if you've had breakups or whatever in the past and whatnot. It's one of those songs that everybody you're sad, so you're gonna listen to a sad song, right?
Been there,
but
done that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was and they were, that was another one. Exactly the same as with when I mentioned what Wu-Tang was. I just went out and I bought the album, and I love that album. It has so many great songs on it. It's great from start to finish. I just for whatever reason. I mean, Darius Rucker's voice is just amazing. Obviously the lyrics in Hootie, I think, are probably to me, I think they're one of the more easier ones to understand as far as what the song is about, what they're going for. They're obviously the way he sings is easy to understand, so that helps. I mean, as you know, a lot of times with some of the ways these people sing, it's kind of, you have to pull up the lyrics and then as you're reading them, I'm like, oh, that's what he's saying. But Darius, you can clearly understand. Go ahead.
No. Coming from Wu-Tang to listen to this song, I was like, I was crying. I was crying, but because no, I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I gotta say that they're kind of this song in particular, melodic, soft rock. I would say
exactly.
Song. It was a really good song.
You've heard it before, though, right?
I don't remember
Okay.
what I was just about to say, and funny enough that you mentioned that. I also heard for another Hootie and the Blowfish song because you shared another song with me previously.
Yes. Drowning, if I remember correctly.
Yep, Drowning. If you know the series Smallville,
Yes. Hmm.
for whatever reason, the series had always an episode that they ended up with a ballad or some sort of a sad song or something like Clark couldn't be with his lady or whatever, and they would
Right.
put
Right.
something sad or something hopeful sometimes. But for some reason, when the song finished, I was like, man, I feel that I listened to it before or something similar, and I don't know whether it was from Smallville or something because Smallville had so many seasons. Maybe they had a song play out in Smallville. I might be way off here, but it kind of
Yeah.
like reminded me of that vibe of ending an episode on a very sad note, and
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
they're parting away, and Clark looking at the sunset.
I guess apparently he wrote that song based on his own behavior
Oh,
of I guess he was doing a lot of drinking and partying and stuff like that, and so that song was written more like basically not you don't want to say it's like autobiography, but that was the song was based off of his interactions with stuff as he was growing up and stuff as well. So I thought that was pretty cool.
oh, nice. I gotta say, I really like their arrangements, but particularly on this song on Drowning.
Yeah.
I definitely it's a band that I would sit down and listen to them on the background for sure without any restraint or whatsoever.
I'm gonna tell you this right now, and it's rare, but I enjoy every single one of their albums, and I don't mean just like, oh, I like this song or that song on each. No, pretty much every single song on every one of their albums I enjoy. There's maybe a couple and it's not even that it's not like, oh, I don't like that song. No, it's just like, okay, that song is good, but it's not as good as the rest of the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of the few. And also, I've seen them twice in concert, and I gotta give them a shout out. Man, they were really, really good live. I mean, really good. So I always like to see a band live, and they sounded just perfect. It was great. Put on a great show. So yeah,
It's
one of my favorite bands.
it's another experience definitely seeing an artist live and being able to
Hmm.
experience it. There are bands that their studio recording is better than the
Yes.
live and vice versa.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's I've seen bands that it's like almost like they're what do they call them? Studio bands.
Yeah.
They're terrible at playing live, but they're great in the studio. Yeah, it's definitely get a different appreciation for them than when you get to see them live. So that's always good.
So unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to listen to any of the three songs that artists for the songs that I chose to exchange with you.
Okay.
The songs that I chose were Entre Tierras, the Héroes del Silencio. The other song was El Arbol, from Roberto Ledesma.
Yes.
One that I thought you might have listened to because he's actually an artist here from the States, Classical Gas from Mason
Yes.
Williams.
I have heard that one before. I wouldn't say I was intimately familiar with it, but almost as soon as it started up, I was just like, "Oh yeah." And then as it went on, I was like, "Wait a second. I know I've heard this before." So I don't know where, but I know for a fact I've heard it before.
Uh, I did a bit of research on. I believe there was a show in the 70s. The name escapes me right now. That used to play this song as part of their show, and also it was, if I'm not mistaken, in another movie. And people used to confuse that Eric Clapton played this movie because Eric Clapton had a lot of songs
Mm,
in that
yep.
movie, and this song was also on there. But really, the song was composed and written by Mason Williams.
That's a good point. It could, yeah, could very well be, but yeah, I know I've heard that before. So
I mean, the song had this song in particular had so many adaptations or people making their interpretations about it.
yeah, yeah.
And for those that I doubt that people don't know, but for those that don't know, Mason Williams, he was born in Texas here in the U.S. Funny enough, I didn't know that he used to be a comedian. Uh,
Oh wow.
yeah, and how he used to perform and do comedy was with a guitar, accompanied by a guitar, doing lyrics for his performance.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, interesting. And but how I got into the song in particular and what I shared with you, this was the first song that I listened to, and to be quite honest, I don't know how I even discovered this song. Back in the
Mm.
day when I was dabbling with practicing guitar and learning to play, I used to have a lot of tabs on YouTube, and all my recommendations would be about practicing tablatures or chords or different teachers that used to show their classes on YouTube, either in Spanish or English. And by that, I guess their algorithm recommended artists that were based on just classical guitar play. And maybe I was curious and saw the name of the song, Classical Gas, was that. And I believe that my curiosity and exploring YouTube was that I discovered this song, and when I listened to it, I was blown away by it. That not only did I put it on repeat multiple times, I set up my mind that I want to learn to play this song.
Okay.
Because I usually what I would be doing was, let me play the start from Fade to Black from Metallica, and
Right.
yeah, it was like just playing the same, chords or the same pattern over and over, but it was not the full song. I didn't go further than that. Oh, but this song really motivated me because it had something else. It was the how can I say the feeling that the song quite literally was talking to me, and I felt like I want to do this, and I gotta say I got good enough to play the song to a decent extent of it. I cannot say that
Okay.
I dominate the song. I could sit down, and it has been a while, but maybe after an hour or two I can get into it, warm up, and okay, I can get this back from muscle memory, I guess.
Right.
From the many interpretations that I've seen, I guess my favorite for this song is from Tommy Emmanuel. If I'm not mistaken, he's an Australian, and he has a very popular cover of it on YouTube as well. And man, oh man, the man is quite literally an artist and a master of the guitar. And me being in love with the guitar since very young, it really was the reason why I chose to listen to a lot of songs that were from classical music. And I kind of wanted to hear what was your experience or expectation, like, or your exposure to listen to this sort of a music, if any.
Yeah. No. I mean, I've always really liked the guitar as well. But I was more in tune, I guess, or more attracted to the drums. But no, dude, I really like the song a lot. It's an excellent song. Like I said, I know I've heard it from somewhere before. I just don't know where. But yeah, the guitar work was especially in the beginning of the song was phenomenal. It's almost had a little bit of a little bit of a Santana vibe to it.
Mm,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh,
I know what you mean, but I guess
Different.
it's funny because I believe this song is even older.
I think it's a lot older. Yeah.
Because he composed this on 1968 for the Mason Williams phonograph record. Obviously, it's been on many
Right.
other records, but I believe this song is rather old. I don't know where to say one came after the other, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. I don't think that it was prior to, because I know Santana's been around for a long time as well, but I would venture to say this one probably came first, but I don't know. But yeah, that one I really enjoyed quite a bit, so I listened to it a couple of times. So
Oh, nice. I'm glad.
yeah, yeah. So and I couldn't for the life of me know. And you know what? You might be 100% right. It could have been a cover that I heard, somebody else playing it or whatever. But it's always good to hear the original.
Oh yeah, and I'll send you the one that I told you about Tommy Emmanuel. And
Okay.
if you like this one, when you listen to that one and you see him play it, it's something else. He does things
Okay.
with his hands that I've been playing guitar for a year or two now, and man, that's definitely someone that has been playing more than 10,000 hours. Like Like they back in the day, there was a saying like, if you want to get good, you gotta be like Paco de Lucia and be stuck on a room for 7 years practicing and then become a master.
Yep.
That's sort of vibe that I get when I see Tommy Emmanuel play. But moving along, kind of using that as a jumping point, mentioning Paco de Lucia and moving to Spain, I share with you the song Entre Dos Tierras from Héroes del Silencio.
Yes.
What do you think about it?
I loved it. That was a great song. I really enjoyed that one as well. That one had started to remind me a little bit at first, a little bit of like an ex Japan kind of vibe to me, which obviously I actually got the same kind of vibe from Avenged Sevenfold when I first started listening to them. They gave me a little bit of a ex Japan type vibe, but it didn't carry. It changed a little bit, but overall, not that that's a bad thing. Yeah, the song just it just rocked, man. It was just one of those songs that was just a great song. Obviously, I can't speak to the lyrics because I have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah, the song. For those that don't know, the song is in Spanish. So, Entre Dos Tierras. If I were to translate the title, it would be like in between two lands or something
Okay.
akin to those lines. And this band in particular, I chose because I wanted to expose you to some of the Spanish rock that I grew up
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
and if it's one of the multiple precursors of Spanish rock that I can remember that I was exposed to. I used to listen to them, Héroes del Silencio, Soda Stereo, Mago de Oz, and many other bands. But this in particular, it was something about them, and this song was one of those songs that I was playing. It really brings me back to a particular era and time that I would go out from my classes after college and back in Puerto Rico, in the University of Puerto Rico, it's kind of in Rio Piedras, there's an avenue that is called La Calle del Ocho or the Street of the Eight because there's a establishment that is called the Eight, just the Eight, number 8.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And the people would go there to play billiards, and there was a jukebox that you would obviously go and play songs for 25 cents. And I remember listening to this song for the first time while we were playing billiard with some of my friends and grabbing a drink and all that, really vibing to it and playing. And it's like, man, these people really play. They play, and
Yeah.
they have a lot of songs similar to this one. If you really like this one, you can go ahead and explore them, even if you don't necessarily understand the lyrics. As far as the lyrics go, let's put it this way: even if you were listening to it in Spanish, Enrique Bunbury, he was one of the vocalists and used to compose most of the songs for this band. Unfortunately, they disbanded in 1996.
Okay.
They play way later in the 2000s for like a reunion concert, but that was it. It's more so a mix of poetry and abstract influence. So even though the lyrics can mean something to you, if someone else listens to them, it can mean something else.
Okay.
And the title of the song, I guess, could be a sort of a giveaway because Entre Dos Tierras, or In Between Two Lands, is kind of having to take that decision between one place on the other. And how the song starts is kind of denotes that sense of you could put yourself or imagine yourself or sell yourself an idea. If you really want to convince yourself or other people about it, like what are you gonna do? And the song sort of goes in between that struggle and back and forth, or at least that's what you could interpret if you saw the lyrics. The music video, though, I didn't send you the music video because if you saw the music video, it's a bit chaotic. I mean, I love it, but
Sure.
also didn't like it because it was very influenced by the times, and it's basically a couple that is fighting and throwing stuff around, and like the man punches the lady, then the lady goes ahead and breaks a bottle on his neck, and then she throws a bookcase at the guy, and then they're fighting on the mud, and you're like, what the hell is going on
What's going
here?
on? Well, it's funny because a lot of times the videos might not even really translate well
No.
to the lyrics in the song. So,
Nothing at all. No. So
yeah.
I sent you the link so you listen to the song even if you didn't understand the lyrics because you have been very distracted. You can look for it if you want, but
No, no, most definitely. No, 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 it makes total sense. And to me, not understanding the language doesn't really bother me at all. Especially I listen to a lot of Japanese music that I have absolutely no idea what they're saying. Obviously, I love X Japan. I have
Same.
no idea. Yeah, well, X Japan is a little bit different where I don't want to necessarily say half and half, but they do have a lot of English in their songs, and most of the titles of their songs are in English, but they mix in some English lyrics sometimes, and it's a bit of a mix. But you know, for all intents and purposes, I I don't want to I don't speak Japanese, so I don't understand. I don't know what they're talking about. And then, well, I might say it in jest, but a lot of times, even if it's in English, I don't know what the hell they're saying. So,
I mean, I gotta be honest with you, and you could say, "Oh man," but you're talking about myself. Oh man, you will be a hypocrite because I do listen to music in Japanese and I understand maybe a word or two, but
right.
why then you don't listen to Wu-Tang? And they're talking English. It's more
It's
frustrating.
different though.
It's more frustrating for me listening to something that I hear the words but I really don't understand than listen to something that I out of the gate. Oh, I don't understand. I'm listening to the music and the melody
Yes.
and go with it. And
Yeah, you go in knowing that you're not going to know what
the,
they're
yeah,
saying.
that's at least how I see it, or how I convince myself of why
Yeah.
that's the case. I have a really tough time kind of explaining it.
No, it makes total sense, and I can. Hey, you know what? There's a lot of stuff that I mean, probably a lot of the slang and stuff from Wu Tang or some of the rap that I listened to when I was younger. I I think a lot of that slang was being used at that time period. Also has to do with where you grew up and location because they might be referencing
Oh,
stuff in the
for
songs
sure, yeah.
that yeah that doesn't make any sense to anybody other than stuff in that specific area. Obviously the lifestyle is going to be drastically different than other people that might be listening to it, but that's kind of what they're trying to attract people that can relate as well. So it's definitely one of those things that though you're listening to it and you understand the words that they're saying, but it doesn't make any sense. So it can be frustrating.
Yeah, that's my only pet peeve, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that I don't listen to any of the current rap, and I really don't listen to a lot of current popular type music. I'm kind of stuck in my ways, I guess. Some of the clips and stuff I've heard of rap in some of the hip hop today. Dude, I don't know what they're talking about.
As far as the meaning of
The meaning,
the
yeah,
words, not the
yeah.
definition of, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of that stuff, the slang, the references, that stuff is all changed. And back in the younger crowd understands, and they're using terminology that I we don't use in our age now that it's just the way times go, right? And it's the whole stay off my lawn kind of thing, right?
Oh no, Kevin got his shotgun.
That's just stay off my lawn with this newfangled stuff. No, but no, I mean it's different. If you're not exposed to it, then obviously, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say that I understand everything. And I can't relate to a lot of the stuff because a lot of it has to do with with them. I'm talking Wu Tang specifically. Growing up in areas where there's a lot of gang activity, and they're the only way that they're able to get money is by selling drugs and this and that. They're being harassed by police and this other stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that they're talking about, but they're talking about it a lot of slang, a lot of references, maybe not, I don't want to say code words, but stuff that doesn't make sense unless you're in that area. You know what I mean?
I listen to mostly the same music, but I take into, in a way, let the algorithm in YouTube recommend music to me based on
Yeah.
those same tastes that I have, and I discover people like, for example, Lauren Babic or Other artists that I share one or two songs with you, like Divide Music, they do a lot of like anime sort of covers, like those songs that I shared with you
Yep.
from Goku, Vegeta, or you name it, whatever. I discovered those independent artists, and I really love that I've gone out of my way to see not necessarily what's popular, but yeah, I will listen to an Adele song. I will listen to, I don't know, other artists randomly, Lady Gaga or whatever. But
Sure.
like, I guess the authenticity or the effort that goes behind some of these independent artists, because I feel it. I'm not trashing on popular music. Let me make the statement. It's just that I most of the time there's this sort of a formulaic recipe that
Yeah.
kind of feeds through the your ears when you're listening to something, and you could say, "Oh man, this guy is super hipster. Watch out, hipster alert!" But if more when you're into music, and if you have the appreciation for it, you kind of feel it and sense it. And hey, I'm gonna again. There could be exceptions. There's songs that I like that are popular and very samey, but I guess something on that song in particular caught me out. But in general, I guess you could say that's how I feel about popular music, and how I like kind of deviating and listening to something different, and not necessarily telling them get out of my lawn. It's like go in and sit down and have some lemonade. But further down the
Yeah.
line, oh, you can leave. There's no hard feelings.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that because I used to not as much today, but I used to consciously try not to listen to things that were popular. I would avoid popular songs just because I didn't want to be the whole following everybody else kind of thing. But
And you used to dress up with a turtleneck, glasses,
I
and a
I
scarf. And a
did.
scarf.
I totally did. I don't even own a scarf, but no, but I mean, and don't, it wasn't like I never did. Hey, Cash Was Everything Around Me and Let Her Cry were extremely popular songs that played on the radio. So it wasn't like I was not listening or not paying attention. But there's a lot of times that I didn't follow the whole, you know, just the most popular songs that are out at this point in time and just continue to listen to those, and that's it. I like what I like, and I try to gravitate towards those those sounds or those musicians or whatever. And to your point, as far as they had they released a DVD on Avenged. Sevenfold did one. It was it was kind of like a behind the scenes kind of DVD where because they were filming a lot of home video stuff as they were starting out. And it's like they were driving around in a van homeless, just playing any gig they can get. And just to try to I think you can kind of feel that, and a lot of times you can feel that in music, in bands or artists, that this is what they've always wanted to do, and they're gonna, just even if they have to struggle.
You can feel the what's the word in English, the eagerness or the energy,
Yeah,
the
exactly. They're not doing it they're doing it to make a living, but they're doing it because they're passionate about it. They
about it.
really enjoy it. And that's obviously the money and making a living from it. That's just a bonus. I think a lot of times from these really good artists, that's just a bonus. They're not trying to just cash in on something that they can make a quick buck. Because a lot of times, they'll, if they could do that, they'd probably make a quick buck, and then you never hear from them again. That's it. They made their money and they're done. These artists are been around. A lot of these people have been around for such a long time, and they still continue to produce music, new music, over and over again. You can tell it's what they do, it's what they love. So I think you can feel it a lot of times.
Talking about like recordings and all that, there's a documentary for Héroes del Silencio actually on Netflix.
Okay.
I haven't seen it. I actually discovered like doing a bit of a research on the band before the pod, and I was like, I didn't know that, because I heard obviously of them when I was coming along, and more so Enrique Bunbury, when the band disbanded, he went along to be a soloist, and he was rather successful in his solo career.
Sure.
At least when I grew up, at least I can say. But yeah, there's a lot of it's become a trend to go and do like the background of how one of these bands came along. Say Metallica, for example, a lot of
Yep.
the behind the scenes, and obviously it's always talk about like how fortunately they lost their first bassist on a tour on an accident, and how the band has gone in and out of some rough patches and how they stand nowadays. Or it's
Yep.
interesting to see how some were well positioned before. Now how they're obviously playing and they making a living nowadays. Some started with like you say, on a band with barely any money on their back, and were successful enough to go out of there. But
Yep.
it has become the I don't want to call maybe the festering or what most people that you hear talking about music, the music labels,
Yeah.
infestating the popular scene as far as selecting artists and making something formulaic. So it's always successful because if something is successful previously, they don't want to make an investment of $1 million behind an artist to then they not being able to be successful or being popular among the people. So that's, I guess, part of the reason that I heard or read why people say that some of the music is samey.
Yeah, no doubt. And I don't want to necessarily say it's easier now, but I think it's probably easier now to at least get your creation, your voice, your music out there with the internet and with YouTube, with the ability to just kind of record and post your stuff out there, whereas opposed to back in the day, quote unquote, that they the only way that they would get known was literally by either playing live gigs locally, or doing a recording on a either tape CD or something like that and distributing it out to people and trying to get it out there. Whereas now, anybody could get their voice out there just like us.
Well, not that we sing. I don't know if you sing, but I'm terrible at it. Hey, you can invite me to a karaoke anytime, but if my life depending on it, no.
No, 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 not singing, but we
I
are
know, I
doing a
know, I
little.
know.
Now you'd mentioned Metallica. I'm gonna go ahead and give Kevin hot take of the week, and I'm gonna go ahead and say Avenged Sevenfold's a better band than Metallica.
So I'm gonna talk about the last artist that I have on my list. Hey man, to each one his own.
There it is. There it is.
I know a lot of people don't like Metallica in particular, especially after the Napster scenario and all the lawsuits and everything that came about that. It's a very heated and contested topic still to this day about how the arguments go, that they quote unquote were defending their music not being sold out there or being
Oh
acquired
yeah.
as easily,
Oh yeah.
versus they being greedy and fighting behind it. So it's been quite a few years. I'm quite honestly don't know if people that listen to them, that's the first thing that they will remember about the band. I, in particular, got exposed to Metallica, and that's not the next song that I got on my list. Nothing at all. More so because of who was my supervisor when I was working and studying back in the university. He used to listen to Metallica quite a bit, and I got into it. And being that I was getting into rock music and metal, and being one of the big four and all the reputation that was behind them, I kind of jammed to them. And I actually been to two concerts when they were playing back in Puerto Rico. They played two times that I remember, yeah.
Nice.
And both of those times I used to went to see them live, and definitely was an experience live. I haven't seen Avenged Sevenfold live, so I kind of unfortunately kind of speak to it.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I've seen both live, and Metallica is. And don't get me wrong, I love Metallica. And yeah, they do put on a great show as well.
I'm thinking about what you just said, and I obviously
My hot take. It's my hot take of the week, man.
I would really would have to sit down and listen to both of them extensively. I listened more to Metallica, so I gotta give it to Metallica if you were to ask me.
Oh, sure.
So it would be unfair from my part, like be very polite, to say that Metallica is better than Avenged Sevenfold if I haven't listened to all the songs from Avenged Sevenfold. I know that I listened to Afterlife. I listened to I was Hail to the King, I believe.
Sure.
What was the other Little Piece of Heaven? They got
Yep.
a bit of variety as far as their arrangement and compositions. Got some lengthy songs, more melodic, more screaming, like we just discussed. So. For me, it would be unfair to rate, but
Yeah, and also the body of work is, and you know what? I'm sure Avenged Sevenfold would say that Metallica is a better band than themselves, but that's my hot take.
yeah, I mean, I guess that Metallica at this day and age is living by their name. To be quite honest,
Oh, sure.
like not that they're playing bad. I mean, I listen to them both live, and it's funny how James' voice has changed so much since the day of Master of Puppets, the Black Album, and going to the latest release, like his voice has matured and changed quite a lot, and he has sort of adapted to the change on his voice.
Yeah.
And I guess he has the composition and songs that they made go around that very same evolution, I guess, of the band, if you want to call it that. But funny enough, there was an era that they were exploring a bit of different, even country and all. They were a very weird age for Metallica. Most people know them for that. Some people love that era. Some people hate that era, especially after the Black Album.
Yep.
Like Load, Reload, and it was Garage Incorporated or something on the line.
Yeah.
I forgetting the name
Yeah.
of the album that had a bunch of songs that they were like mixing out, experimenting, and I don't hate it, but you can see how they layer on the most recent two albums. They kind of went a bit back to their roots as far as the band goes.
Right.
And I mean, again, I will be being unfair to Avenged Sevenfold, and I like both artists, but I like definitely more Metallica on that sense.
No. So yeah, I didn't mean to spark up a whole topic on it. I
Oh
was just
no,
giving
that's part for the conversation, and
exactly.
yeah,
But we still got to talk about Roberto.
Yep, my last song, nothing at all to do with rock music. I'm going a bit on a time capsule here. Before I say anything about Roberto de Ledesma, El Arbol, in Spanish that would be the tree. What do you think, even not understanding the lyrics?
So you know what? It was my least favorite. Obviously.
Oh, I bet.
Because it was, it was a bit of a slower type song. And this one, I still enjoyed it because I really liked his singing. But this one, I felt like I would have enjoyed it more if I did understand what he was saying.
Funny. Funny. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and this one had I think this one also, to me, sounded the most cultural to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I doubt that you heard too many boleros in your day.
Right. So, but tell me a little bit about it.
So, Roberto Ledesma, he's from Cuba. He moved to the States near in the 60s or so. And he got discovered by HEMA labels. And he played on New York, on Florida, and then traveled all Latin America. I know of Roberto Ledesma, obviously, because of my father. This song in particular, I chose that I'm share with you because I remember me being on the passenger seat and my father was driving, listening to the radio, and this song came along and he told me he was driving. The song started playing. He turns up the volume, and my father says, "Listen to this song." And like I was watching, the scenery or whatever, not paying attention. But when he told me that in the tone that he said it, I remember. I was like, okay, I need to listen to this.
Sure.
And I listened to it. And after the song was finished, like he told me, "What do you think? What do you think it is about?" And I gave him my appreciation for the song. He was like, "Yeah." It was the first song. I was very young when this happened. I remember this was the song that made me realize that music is just not a bunch of sounds
Right.
playing in the background, someone saying some words to a microphone. It's an expression of feelings, of capturing a moment or moments, and be able to put those into a medium that people are able to express themselves. The connection in particular that I have with this song, I randomly sometimes will find myself singing lyrics from this song. It's just because of the connection that I developed not only with the song and the medium, but with my father in particular.
Right.
So for me in particular, this song is meaningful in that way. And there's a whole other slew of songs from Celia Cruz in particular. There was a vinyl that he had back home, and we used to listen to it and share a few songs as well as one of my brothers that passed away. He had a favorite song from that album. It's how music connected my family, and I cannot simply put into words how grateful I am that I'm able to listen to music and appreciate music in the way that I was taught to appreciate music. That was the whole reason for me to sharing this song with you. I know that you wouldn't understand it because it's in Spanish. I know that most likely you wouldn't like the genre because bolero, that is the genre for this song, is usually a more slow pace rhythm, but it's the connection, the feeling. It's more akin to maybe some of the songs that will be played here, just from that era, like the 50s or the 60s here in the States, that you will listen to old songs playing along. And
Right.
this song in particular is funny. We didn't talk about which songs we were going to share with each other, but if you were to kind of preface what is being told in the song in the few, I don't know, less than 3 minutes, the song duration, is the story of a man reminiscing the old days and how the love that he shared with his loved one, and they inscribed their letters in a heart on the trunk of a tree. But unfortunately, as time went by and the tree grew older, as tree obviously changed, the carving on the trunk kind of started to fade, like the love that they shared, and how someone else is now courting the hand of the person that he used to love, and how the initials that were on the tree are the only reminders of the wound that he carries on his heart, and the tree carries that kind of a wound on the center of the tree, as he now sees from afar, like an old man, bitter and alone, how trees now run around the tree, carving their names while they smile and laugh. And that's the whole song. Like,
Wow.
it's kind of not maybe in the same line as Hootie and the Fish, Let Her Cry, but maybe
It's not a happy song.
it's not a happy song. That's what I wanted to put across, that it's a song about obviously being on that feeling of loss, and how the tree itself is the metaphor that has been used to how, as time passes, the bond that they share starts to fade away, and the wound or the carving on the tree is what the only reminder that he has of the wound that he has. So that's why I like understanding the lyrics on songs, because
Sure.
it kind of makes that connection. Obviously, not all music has to be that way, but obviously the importance in particular that this song had to me was just because of that father telling me to listen to the song and understanding and appreciating music.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story, and that you know what I want to. That makes me want to go back and listen to it again, and then I can probably find a translated, version of the lyrics and follow along, just because I make, I really would like to understand it a little bit more. But yeah, that story is great, and it's one of those things that, really can, show you how music can have that kind of attachment to either a certain event or person or whatever the case may be, in your life, and no matter what, you can kind of always go back and listen to that song again and be reminded of that time period. That's a really cool story.
Yeah, and well, we want to listen to what other people gotta say. Do you like the songs that we picked? Have you listened to them? What songs do you would pick and share with someone that you care, let us know.
Definitely let us know. I think 99% of the comments are going to be bashing me for saying Avenged Sevenfold is better than Metallica.
I would say nowadays I don't know I wouldn't know whether one is more popular than the other. I guess I'm disconnected from that scenario, but I would like to hear what people
Oh
will
yeah,
have to say.
definitely. I want to hear. Yeah, I would love to hear if people had enjoyed the same songs that we brought up, and if they have some songs that they'd like to have us listen to, then we'll definitely be more than happy to check them out, and maybe we'll do a another segment and talking about them.
Yeah.
So Alan, before we forget, I did have a trivia question in our last podcast about hockey. That question was, when is it okay for a teammate to pass the puck to another teammate using their hands and not their stick? And I was
Oh,
curious to see
right,
if you
right,
had
right.
a yeah. I was curious to see if you had a guess on that, an answer, and then I'm curious to see if other people could chime in. And I'm sure a lot of people know the answer, but maybe other people don't. So, what do you?
Me being one of them that actually don't know the answer. To be honest, like I said on the previous podcast, I barely know anything about hockey. I'm gonna do a wild guess and say maybe when the goalie has the puck and he can pass it to the offense or something. Uh,
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
stre- I'm,
Well,
stre-
that's a good guess.
I'm really stretching here. What?
It's tough. Go ahead.
No, I mean, what would be the proper answer to that?
So it's it's tough. Obviously, you don't know hockey, without knowing the rules. But I tried to pick a question that was maybe a little bit more unique, from a hockey standpoint. But you have three zones. You have your defensive zone, your neutral zone, and the offensive zone. It is actually okay for a teammate to pass the puck to another teammate using their hand when they're in their own defensive zone. That is allowed. Anytime they do that outside the zone, it's blown dead as a hand pass. So when they're in their own zone, though, then they are allowed to do that.
And that can be done at any time in their defensive
Any,
zone.
Correct. So let's say if a defender, you know, falls down on the ice to try to block a shot, and it hits them, and they can actually hit the puck with their hand and pass it over to a teammate, and the teammate can continue on and play, and that whistle will not be blown. If you do that in the neutral zone or the offensive zone, it's blown dead.
Mm.
Plays blown dead, hand pass, and the face off occurs.
Or there you go. The more you know.
The more you know, the more you can get excited about some hockey.
So everyone, thank you for tuning in and listening to some of the songs that influence us and exchange with each other.
Definitely. Have a good one, folks.
Later.